How many years?
3 years.
London?
London.
Wow, mashallah, that's good. That's good.
Alhamdulillah. Do we have a moderator? Yes, we do. But should we start? I think this is This is everybody. Are we? We are live? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All right, let's start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. I think I need to introduce myself. My name is Ahmad ibn Saifuddin. I'm a professor at Imam Muhammad ibn Saud Islamic University in Riyadh. And I've been teaching for so many years. I'm retired, but I'm on contract. So we call it mutaqa'id wa muta'aqid. This is a very interesting term in Arabic.
Retired
so once you retire and you'd like to work again, you work on a contract basis. But alhamdulillah, I'm today with you, and I'm so glad that Huda is doing this live show, alhamdulillah. This is reality TV in real.
Yeah.
In Mecca.
In Mecca.
In Mecca, Allahu Akbar. It's the first time you can see that in Mecca. This is the, yeah, exactly. This is the best thing to do. Yeah. Subhanallah, but I had this idea in my mind that astaghfirullah, if we pray and we are praying because cameras are there, I'm not used to this. So
right, yeah.
this feeling of fear of insincerity is very, very important.
Sure.
So I think we need to have that in mind.
And also forget about the cameras.
Forget about the cameras.
Look at each other.
I think we are, alhamdulillah, here.
Yeah.
There is no camera, nothing. We are just all brothers together.
Yeah.
We need to learn from each other. Hopefully we say something of benefit to ourselves and to the people. This is very important. And I think the best thing is to have everyone introduce himself. And then we'll go from there, inshallah. We'll have a nice session. This is the beginning. So we always say in the beginning, Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. MashaAllah, this is great. So let me start on my right. Introduce yourself, please, and the country you're coming from. And then we'll talk. We'll go from there. How many wives you have? That sort of thing.
Not enough.
Almighty Allah for this precious gift of Islam He has given me. Actually, me accepting Islam is the best decision I've ever taken.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
Yes, I was born into a Christian family, a Catholic family precisely, and I've been to Catholic church for the past 21 years of my life. Yes, and everything started back when I was at school. A Muslim brother came to my school and challenged with the Christian sect that there is evidences, proofs of Islam found in the Bible. So we did not take it lightly. We said, no, this can't be possible. So he has to prove it. So he started that he too was born into Islam, but he never had in-depth knowledge about his religion.
Sorry, but if you could just speak louder. I don't think
Yeah,
my microphone's getting
probably, yes. Please speak up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
He never had any in-depth knowledge about Islam. He never read the Quran. He knows nothing about Islam. So his two friends who were Christians were able to, lure him into Christianity. So he was with them for about 5 years. And then he also completed school, and then they had to take him to a pastoral school for him to graduate and become a pastor. And then in the pastoral school, that is where he encountered those proofs and evidences that anytime he reads the Bible, he comes across a lot of things he doesn't understand. And most of those things are things, properly done by Muslims. So there was one man at the school that when you study the Bible and you don't understand anything, you go to him for explanation. So he gathered a lot of these things and he went to the man for explanation. And the man just looked at the quotation, the things he gathered, and he said he should go and come next time. So he went and continued studying the Bible. Then he had more of those evidence and proofs. Then he went to the man.
Maybe you're going into details, mashallah. Yes. I think there will be a session where you tell your full story of how you came into the folds of Islam. But that will be, inshallah, probably later on. At this point in time, we need just to introduce ourselves, our names, our countries, that sort of thing. And then, inshallah, we'll go into these things.
So, like I was saying, I'm from Ghana.
Yes.
I'm from Ghana. And the name is Donatus Dampi. So when I embraced Islam...
What's your name again?
Donatus Dampi.
Donatus. The one name or two
Donatus.
Names?
Yeah, Donatus Dampi.
Dampi,
yes.
Okay.
So
Donatus.
When I embraced Islam, I adopted...
Double D then?
Yes, double D, yeah, double D.
Right. All right, great. Double D.
So when I embraced Islam, I adopted Ismail. So I now have Donatus Ismail Dampi as my full name. Ismail, yes.
Great.
As my full
Which shows something very much related to the Hajj.
Yes, very good.
So we're going to make the connection,
Although
inshallah.
last time we called him by Ismail and he didn't answer.
Yeah.
We were calling you, Ismail.
But maybe I didn't hear.
Yeah, right. He didn't hear you.
It's a new name here.
Okay.
It's a very good name. I like it. I love the name. Yes. So that is how the whole...
Okay, so you are from Ghana?
I'm from Ghana.
Very good,
Yes.
very good. Good to see you, mashallah.
Okay,
You said you've been a Muslim for a year now?
For a year now.
No, mashallah.
1 year.
So he's a revert, mashallah.
MashaAllah. And Allah's blessed you with the opportunity to come to Mecca after 1 year.
Yeah, after 1 year.
Alhamdulillah. What a blessing.
I feel honored to be a guest here. I'm so happy.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
All right,
So happy. Alhamdulillah.
let's go to our brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
My name is Abdurrahim. Abdurrahim Karte from Glasgow, Scotland. I have been in the country here for starting my 8th year now, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
I'm an English teacher at one of the universities. In Glasgow, alhamdulillah, we have a good Muslim community. And when I was there, in college days, that's when I accepted Islam. 13 years ago, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. In Glasgow.
Yeah, in Glasgow, yeah.
MashaAllah.
Here, alhamdulillah, living here is what my family and I have wanted for a long time. To live in a Muslim country, to be able to live Islam freely, alhamdulillah. So it's good for us.
MashaAllah. Brother Abdurrahim from Scotland. All right, great. All right, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Noor Ahmed Furlong. I am South African.
Noor Ahmed.
Noor Ahmed.
Alaikum assalam. Please. He's late. It's okay.
I was born in Cape Town,
From Cape Town.
South African.
South Africa.
38 years old. 14 of those years Muslim, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
I married, I have 4 daughters, alhamdulillah.
4 children?
Yes.
MashaAllah.
And,
And 2 wives?
No. One.
Just 1 wife. All right. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. And I'm very happy to be in Mecca. In fact, it's the best place
First time?
I could
This
be.
is your first
I've
Hajj?
been in Mecca before, I've never done Hajj.
Oh, so you've been on Umrah before,
Umrah.
but this is your first Hajj.
Yes.
MashaAllah. May Allah accept.
I was in Mecca 12 years ago. So,
Good. MashaAllah. Brother?
Bismillah
It's you,
ar-Rahman
yeah.
ar-Rahim. My name is Brother Abdullah Haroon. I'm from the United States of America. I come from a state called Pennsylvania, and my town is called Pittsburgh. However, Pittsburgh. Steelers, exactly. I'm a naturalized American, which means that I was actually born in Africa, then I went to study in America, and then I naturalized into becoming an American. Right now, I've been working in Saudi Arabia for 7 years, and I teach at the University of Al-Baha. My subject or specialty is comparative literature. One thing that I get asked a lot is that, when did you convert to Islam? Okay, I'm neither a convert nor a revert. I was actually born a Muslim. My mother was a Muslimah, my father was a Muslim, so I've basically been a Muslim all my life. There is some derouting or detour that take place in my spiritual journey, but I will save this till next time, inshallah. What I would like to say right now is that my passion in life, I teach, but that's just for the bread. My passion in life, my goal, my objective is to spread Islam. I would like to be a professional da'i, and right now I work in KSA, in Dawa, in the United States, and also in Africa. I'm focusing in those 3 areas. And I need all the help I can get.
May Allah make that easy for you.
Ya Allah, may Allah keep us all on the straight path.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah.
Please.
My name is Abdullah Zika.
Abdullah Zika.
ZYKA. Zika. I am from Australia. I have been in Saudi Arabia for approximately 9 years now.
9 years? MashaAllah.
I'm a student in Imam University, Kulliyat Sharia.
Yes, Sharia College.
I work in King Khalid Islamic Foundation.
King Khalid?
Foundation, Islamic Center. King Khalid Islamic Center.
What is it?
King Khalid Islamic Center.
Islamic Foundation, I see, MashaAllah.
In Da'wah field, the field of Da'wah.
Are you married?
That's about, unfortunately, no.
You're not married.
Not married.
Someone will tell us about that.
Yeah.
Why is it
Put him on
so?
the list.
Why is it the case? All right.
I guess my goal in life
Hopefully
is
you get married, inshallah.
my goal in life is to service Islam the best I can,
MashaAllah.
be the best Muslim I can, try to apply the ayah and worship your Lord till certainty comes upon you, i.e. death. That's about everything.
MashaAllah. Welcome, Brother Abdullah.
Exactly.
Please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
My name is Tahir Mahmood.
Tahir.
I belong from Pakistan, Islamabad. I have been here in Saudi Arabia for 4 years.
Can you speak up, please?
Yeah, I mean for Saudi Arabia for 4 years.
Yes.
I am working in heating and air conditioning company as a procurement officer in supply chain department.
MashaAllah.
So I did my basic education all from Pakistan, but I have now experienced a good experience in Saudi Arabia for working. But nowadays I have the passion to learn more and more about Islam in depth, so I can better understand. When I see these all brothers, they are new Muslim, so I feel guilty for myself. Why I'm not learning about Islam more and more. So inshallah, I will try my best to learn Islam as much as I can.
Very good.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much. MashaAllah.
Jazakallah
Welcome,
khair.
Brother Tahir. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mikael. I come from New York, USA. I've been living in Saudi Arabia about 6 years now. Currently, I'm an English teacher in Qasim, Indonesia.
What do you teach?
English.
English.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm just happy to be here, in Mecca,
MashaAllah.
and having the opportunity to perform Hajj and hopefully do some good deeds, inshallah.
Very good. You have your family with you here?
I do have my family with me.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
And 4 wives? I'm just kidding. I know. Only one, huh? Yeah, I know.
We'll get into that later.
One is more than enough, right?
Exactly.
This time and age, huh?
Yeah.
One headache is enough.
One headache. One headache is enough. Oh, please, don't.
No, not a headache.
You heard nothing. You heard nothing. Yeah.
After being a Muslim and after doing Hajj, one of the greatest blessings is that righteous wife.
Allahu Akbar.
That righteous wife.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing is to make dua that may Allah give you a good righteous wife for those who have not been married, and for the one to make her the best.
Yeah.
Righteous.
May Allah help us all have righteous wives and increase us all in righteousness, inshallah.
I think now I can make a connection. Abu Abdullah, right?
Ah, you did it. That's good.
Please introduce yourself.
Alhamdulillah. Abu Abdullah. My name is Besnik, but most people forget my name, so they just call me Abu Abdullah. That's the default kunya.
Yeah.
One thing you learn in Saudi Arabia, especially in the Gulf, is that kunya becomes your default name, especially when you get older.
Exactly.
So everyone calls me Abu Abdullah. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I've been in
What's the first
KSA
name,
for
Abdullah?
9 years now, nearly 9
What's
years.
your name?
Besnik, but most people forget
Besnik.
Besnik, yeah. It's European origins.
Besnik,
Yeah. But most people forget the name, and so they just call me Abu Abdullah, and it's the default. And it sticks with you, you know? When you
Yeah.
write something down, you write Abu Abdullah, and so it sticks with you. It becomes a new part of your identity.
Right.
You know, especially
Okay.
being KSA.
MashaAllah.
So I'm working at the College of Language and Translations at King Saud University. I've been there for nearly 9 years. And as many other brothers say, it's for us, it's a vehicle to be here in a Muslim environment where Islam is being practiced more, making it easy for us and our children. And while we're here, we work hard to try to, uphold the dawah that's being done and strive in the cause of seeking Allah's pleasure in whatever we can do. You know, so it's a really nice environment. You meet a lot of new people. It's a place where it's very multicultural and everyone's coming together, you know, and it's really nice. Always a change, always something new and something special.
Great.
Alhamdulillah.
Oh, nice.
And I've only got one wife, but alhamdulillah.
Right.
I've been blessed with one wife.
Alhamdulillah.
for that.
And many children.
And 8,
yeah, and 8 children.
She's
8 children.
watching you now.
8.
8 children.
8 children.
So alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
This is 8.
Oh, MashaAllah. 8.
So you understand, Ahmed?
Age is enough.
So,
Please.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm originally from Pakistan, Lahore. I've been into the kingdom for the last 4 years, working in a vehicle company based in Riyadh. So I've been born Muslim, alhamdulillah, but a person who has been quite wavered in his life. Recently got to the basics and trying to get conviction in my beliefs, and hopefully I do get that and pass it on to my kids. This is the first priority, inshallah. And once it is done, then move to the next segment and try to get to the audience as well.
MashaAllah. Welcome.
Jazakallah.
Ibrahim Beidu
MashaAllah.
from Ghana,
Yes.
a former Jehovah's Witnesses
Subhanallah.
international evangelist
Yeah.
who has propagated the religion within Ghana and parts of Africa.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, I'm now a Muslim and I'm so proud
alhamdulillah.
that I belong to the only true religion.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
How long have you been?
Alhamdulillah, almost 11 to 12 years now.
12 years.
MashaAllah.
And currently,
You have a model here.
and my ultimate goal is to be able to propagate Islam more than I did in Christianity.
Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah.
May you use the skills you gained
That
in
is
the
it.
past
Yeah.
to use it in
That
Islam,
is it.
inshallah. Make it easy
I
for
had a
you.
methodology, so
All right.
I'm now going to use it to promote
We
Islam.
may try to get from you some of the tools
Excellent.
the Jehovah Witnesses
Yeah,
are
good.
doing in order to see what's fit
Amazing.
for Islam, you know? That'd be something interesting. All right, very good.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Diri.
Not least, huh?
Yeah, last.
All right.
Definitely not least, right? My name is Diri. I come from Canada. I was born in Ottawa, but I live now in Toronto. Diri Bale is my name. From Canada, but originally East Africa, Somalia. Now, I have been in Saudi Arabia now for 4 years, approximately. I study at Imam Saud University as well, alongside Abdullah. Although I met him here for the first time in my life, somehow. So I study in the College of Sharia Law, although that's very scary these days. I don't.
MashaAllah. No. Don't worry, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, I'm married, alhamdulillah, with
Islamic law, if you like.
yeah, Islamic law. That sounds a lot better.
All right,
Islamic,
if you
Islamic.
like that.
Islamic legal law.
Legal law.
Islamic legal law, yes.
Well, that's legal study. anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, I'm married with an amazing wife. She's not a headache at all, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
She's actually like a source of inspiration for me as well, mashallah. Been married for 4 years now, alhamdulillah. I'm older than I look.
Oh, yeah.
When you saw me, you probably thought I was 16, 17.
Exactly.
Going on 18.
Yeah,
right?
and you said you married?
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
I'm 27 now. 27
MashaAllah.
now. Yeah.
MashaAllah.
No beard, but yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming, inshallah. MashaAllah. Well, everyone is welcome, mashallah. Thank you. We're glad to have you on Huda TV. And I was given this assignment to be somehow in the middle here and try to get something out of you, brothers. But the most important thing that is we are beginning this endeavor at Huda. It's the first time Huda is doing this kind of program, reality TV, if you will, mashallah. But hopefully the experience will bring some good fruits, inshallah. The most important thing is to have people live the Hajj. Let me tell you that we are based in Aziziyah. This is the area very close by. If you look to this, I don't know whether the camera is going to take this, but this is the
mount of
bridge,
Jamara.
a Jisr to Mina, which will take you, it's really, this is Mina anyway. We are just only hundreds of meters, a few hundreds of meters from Mina itself. But alhamdulillah, this is a blessed place. You know, Mecca has been a center of attraction from the early part of history of the human being and the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Mecca to be the center of attraction and the center of gravity for people to have their hearts longing to be here. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Ibrahim and Ismail to build the Kaaba, he then asked Ibrahim, when he completed the building of the Kaaba, he said, "O Ibrahim, go to the highest mountain in Mecca and proclaim upon people to come over to visit the house." He said, "Oh Allah, where would my voice reach? It's not going, who's going to listen to me?" He said, "You do the adhan, it is incumbent upon me to let everyone listen."
SubhanAllah.
And then subhanAllah, since that time, people started to come individually and in groups, walking on every lean camel from every pass, coming to this house, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. And this is exactly what is this ayah behind us, saying وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ, and proclaim to people the pilgrimage. يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا, they will come on foot, وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ, and every lean camel, يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍ عَمِيقٍ, they will come from every deep valley and pass to this house. And this has been a practice, alhamdulillah. So we are in a blessed place. We are in the most sacred place on earth by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Amen.
Also, we are in the most sacred month and days. You know, there are 4 sacred months of the year. We have Rajab, which is the 7th month of the Hijrah year, and then we have 3 consecutive months: Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. We are in the middle one. We are in Dhul Hijjah, and we are in the best days of Dhul Hijjah. These 10 first days of Dhul Hijjah are the best days ever. In the Hadith, أفضل أيام الدنيا أيام عشر ذي الحجة. هذه الأيام. So the best of the days of the year and the time are the first 10 days of the Hijjah. So, mashallah, Allah has given us and blessed us with the best place and the best time and, inshallah, the best company.
And, inshallah. And also on top of that, maybe to keep in mind that we're doing the best deeds of calling people to Islam in those days.
Exactly.
Those actions of righteousness, you know, reminding people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the religion, and helping spreading the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Exactly. I mean, this is, I need your input on this, because we can talk about the virtues of of the 10 days of the Hijjah. And of course, comes on top of all of this is the performance of Hajj. And now I know that every one of you has intended to perform Hajj, either for the first time or second time, or in addition to whatever he has done before. And alhamdulillah, I mean, this is a blessing to be here and to have that feeling and intent to perform this great duty. And we know Hajj can never be done except to this place, and can never be done except in these days. So I mean, look at this, and that's why this place is very special, because no one would be able to make Hajj except to the house, to the Kaaba, and it's the house of Allah. And very interesting because to non-Muslims, when you say the house of Allah, the idea came to their mind that, well, does Allah reside there? Astaghfirullah. It's a house of Allah. Well, this we said Baytullah, the house that Allah has intended to be the center of gravity for the whole world. And that's just like a house that people will come to visit time after time. And Allah says in the glorious Quran, وَإِذْ جَعَلْنَا الْبَيْتَ مَثَابَةً لِلنَّاسِ وَأَمْنًا. Allah has made this house a center of gravity, or a place to come time after time, and a place of security and peace. And by the way, when we talk about peace and security, I'd like to get your opinion, your idea, your reflection regarding peace and security since you started either by living in this country or when you came to Mecca maybe a few days back. How did you feel? What is your feeling towards the peace and the security? I'll tell you my own experience later on, but I'd like to hear from some of you regarding this particular idea, because this is very, very important and significant. The whole world is in turmoil. You can see so many places of conflict. There are wars around us taking place, and people are not feeling security even within themselves. They're not at peace with themselves. Even if you live in the streets of New York, how do you feel when you walk? You know, the other day there were some problems in New York, but we're not talking about this particular place, but any place in the world would be a place vulnerable to trouble and so on. But what is the feeling of peace and security that you have? Abdullah.
Saudi Arabia, I believe, is a very secure place, because most people here,
if you can speak up, Abdullah.
Most people here, alhamdulillah, believe in Islam here. So Islam makes people fear Allah and not harm others. For example, many people here, they turn the cars on and they leave the cars on and go upstairs or go to the house. Leave the car warm up. Overseas, this is almost impossible to find because the car will be stolen. It's a proof that people here, alhamdulillah, fear Allah and they don't usually steal, they don't usually harm other people. It's exceptional when that happens. It's an example.
That's a good example, yeah.
MashaAllah.
Yes, please. And also the peace and security is really manifesting itself here, because Hajj, for instance, is a period in which the whole world is assembled in Saudi Arabia, precisely Mecca. And if they're with different kinds of ethnic backgrounds. And when in our various countries, for instance, Ghana, we have some few ethnic groups, and there used to be conflict among each ethnic group. Every ethnic group trying to feel superior above others. But this is the case, the whole gathering, the biggest gathering in the world. All the countries, all the ethnic groups have assembled here, and everybody respects each other.
Yes.
No one is trampled upon somebody's, right? No one feels superior against another. This is a great sign, because that indeed peace and security is, we see ourselves as brothers and sisters, and all that goes on is salam, salam. You know him, he doesn't know him, salam alaikum. Look at, we have gathered here, for example, from different countries. And just 2-3 days that we met here, we have created a wonderful brotherhood, a wonderful family.
Agreed, mashallah. Amazing.
Exactly.
You couldn't even plan it. You know, it just came together beautifully.
Alhamdulillah.
And without
harmony.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like, you know, when you come here, it's like you surrender all of your preconceptions. You just drop everything. You drop your, I don't know, upbringing. You drop, you know, propaganda from the media. Everything just gets dropped. You leave it all, and all you got is each other and your religion.
Exactly.
And it just makes you feel comfortable, you know. So it's a really beautiful thing. Alhamdulillah.
Mikhail?
Yeah, in general, you know, I feel very safe in Saudi Arabia. I've never had any experiences. I've lost my wallet a couple of times and it was returned to me. I've lost my phone and it was returned to me. I leave my car open all the time and right. I probably shouldn't. It doesn't. You should do it anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do it sometimes.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah. I got to tie my camel, you know, first and then rely on Allah. But as far as Mecca in general, you know, in other cities, people go there for various reasons. For this city, as well as Medina, people only come here for worship. It's not like a tourism capital or anything. We come here for this purpose. And to see that fact is these massive waves of people from all backgrounds, and to be in that situation with these people, and we're all together worshiping Allah. It's an awe-inspiring experience. The first time, especially the first time you see it, it's just awe-inspiring. And you feel, you know, really at peace. And then you have the mountains around, and the scenery is really nice, especially in the mornings, like when the sun is rising and things like that. It's really just all about inspiring peace, actually, inside the person.
Yes.
You know, the safety and security in this country, honestly, is amazing. Even if you look at the map, sometimes, you know, I just look at the map and you see what's around this country. It's devastating what's going on in the world today. But Allah protected this country. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine if there was a war here or turmoil? We wouldn't be able to make Hajj. Right? So Allah, with His hikmah, you know, He protects this place. Extremely safe country, you know what I mean?
And that's also been the case in history.
Yeah,
in the
always.
history of Mecca.
Yeah.
There's been conflict and wars and
Exactly.
robberies around Mecca.
Exactly.
You know, so and you see that protection and the development of the city of Mecca, the people of Mecca, came from nothing and always secure and surround. And then people also respected that in the greater areas.
Exactly. And you remember the story of the elephant.
So,
and when
sort of feel
Abraha, the Abyssinian, who came from Yemen, and he wanted to destroy the Kaaba.
So,
and this is just only told in the glorious Quran in a very few ayahs in the chapter of the elephant. But then the idea is that when Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when people were afraid, they said, Abraha is coming with an elephant and an army. And they made the elephant, you know, because the Arabs are not used to elephants.
Different type of strategy and warfare.
He's going to create fear. And nobody will be able to stand before the elephant when it would be coming, and it's so huge and big, and they can use it to destroy the Kaaba and to lead the army. Now, when they came, when Abdul Muttalib knew about this, and they started talking to him, what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to take care of my own camels because I am responsible for them. But Allah will guard this house. Allah will guard His own house. And that's exactly what happened. They went to the mountains and they were just looking. They said, Abraha, do whatever you want because Allah is going to protect His house. And that's exactly what happened.
And it wasn't even far from here. It's just over here.
It's here,
just here.
After Mina, between Mina and Muzdalifah, Wadi Muhassir.
Exactly. And not many people realize that.
That's the valley where Abraha reached. And it's not even, they haven't even reached Mecca.
Not even close.
And they have not entered into Mecca and trying to achieve their objective of destroying the Kaaba. The elephant would not move. Once if they asked the elephant to go directly to the Kaaba, he would not go. But if they ask the elephant to go backward, it will go. Subhanallah. And then but they just insisted and they wanted, and finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these birds with small stones, hitting everyone and killing all of that army in that place. That's why we're supposed to hasten when we go pass through there, because it's a place of punishment. That's where the people were punished there. The whole army was destroyed, and the Meccans were very happy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected his house. So as my brother Abu Abdullah said, this house has been protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he will keep it until the end of time.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And Medina as well.
And Medina, because this is a sacred place. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, just only the intent to make any harm to the people or to the place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have him taste punishment, a severe punishment. Allah says in the glorious Quran, وَمَن يُرِدْ فِيهِ بِإِلْحَادٍ بِظُلْمٍ نُذِقْهُ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. Whoever even intends, not only doing it, but rather intends to do any harm, or ilhad meaning to go against the interest. He wanted to do mischief in the haram, in this place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have him taste a severe punishment. And it's been like this in the history. Alhamdulillah. Those even who wanted to come and they attacked and all that, the results were so bad. So Allah is protecting the house. That's why you feel that sense of security, sense of peace, alhamdulillah. And it's been like this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided this whole institution and the government here to do these services to the pilgrims. They have been committed to do this by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah give them strength. May Allah keep them on the straight path in doing so.
And all the people working in the same environment to help, the supported people.
Exactly. Everyone. You know, the Meccans feel the responsibility throughout history. They've been feeling this responsibility of serving the pilgrims and being there. Yes, they would gain some income because of that. However, the main point is these people know that they have this great responsibility and business
honor.
To do. It's an honor.
Great honor.
No doubt. It's an honor.
No other city can really compare in that service.
It's the service. That's why, you know, I like this emblem of the Ministry of the Hajj. It says, خِدْمَةُ الْحُجَّاجِ شَرَفٌ لَنَا. The service of the pilgrims is an honor for us. So, alhamdulillah.
I find that the people of Mecca are very generous, especially in Hajj time.
Amazing.
Someone will open their door and buy water or buy fruit and give it out to everyone they see. People are very generous here.
From their own houses. From their own houses.
From their own houses. You can find here food and drink without any problem. You'll see that particularly in Mina, Arafah, Muzdalifah. People are looking for the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They get free food, free drinks. They serve the pilgrims. They try to help them. And of course with all the facilities that have been made. But that's just only a start. We wanted to touch on these things to know the time and place. It's very, very important to...
Context.
Yes, the context of what we're talking about. Since we are here for Hajj, and now we are waiting. Today is the fourth day of the Hajj? Is it third? It's fourth. We start Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So today is the fourth of the Hijjah, although the calendar, al-Qura calendar will tell you that it's the fifth. That's actually the fourth.
Yes.
Based on the General Court, mashallah, the higher court in this country actually made that decision based on the sighting of the crescent. They were not able to sight the crescent in time, so they completed the month of Dhul Qa'dah, 30 days, and that's why we are behind the calendar one day. However, this is exactly what we need to do, because it's all based on sightings.
Exactly.
All right? So that's just out of the way to get accustomed. Yeah.
To what my brother just said, about how people of Makkah are very generous. When I was in Ghana, I used to hear about how people do good here in Makkah. So I came here and I experienced it in reality. Just this Friday, we went to Al-Haram. Then when we closed from Juma prayers, we were going home. People were just distributing food on our way to the house. We collected food right from the entrance of Makkah, Al-Haram, all on the way to the house. So this is actually, it shows how people of Makkah are actually generous.
If you come to Maghrib time, when people are fasting and they break their fast,
Amazing.
you see so many sheets are spread, these plastic sheets there, and everybody can have dates, Zamzam water, even small amounts of food, because you don't want to make it a feast in the haram, of course. Otherwise, people are willing to do it.
Right.
However, just only for the purpose of being clean and short and sweet, as they say. All right, so that's just only to break your fast. So everybody was hurrying up to give you the dates and the service to help you. They may give you with it some what do you call it, yogurt or
dates, coffee,
anything, juices,
fruit.
Fruits.
I did the fasting here and it was fantastic.
MashaAllah. I mean, you can come to the haram without having any food. Even some people will give you coffee and date and tea and all that, which is available. MashaAllah. So anyway, it's a blessing indeed to be here in the haram and to make sure that whatever we do, MashaAllah, here is rewarded. One of the things which I'd like to also point to is the virtue of praying here in Mecca. And you know that praying only one salah is equal to praying salah anywhere else. By how many?
100,000.
100,000 prayers.
Multiplied by 100,000.
Multiplied by 100,000.
On top of the 27.
27 is included in there. Plus, if you do it in congregation.
And in the 10 days.
In the 10 days, the virtues are most beloved. ما من أيام العمل الصالح فيها أحب إلى الله من هذه العشر. There are no days, as the Prophet ﷺ said, where deeds are more beloved to Allah than in these days.
So greater multiplication of your rewards.
The multiplication, the time is very important.
Amazing.
Is of essence here. But when we talk about the multiplication of the rewards for praying one prayer, and that you can count that to how many? To 58 years and 6 months, and that you can multiply that. Look how many rewards are there just for only praying one salah here in Mecca.
Alhamdulillah.
And if you're doing it 5, you can just go ahead and count.
How generous
500,000.
Subhanallah.
So in 2 days you get 1 million. Wallahi, Allahu Akbar. I mean, that's
how generous Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. How generous. Small effort, a few days, in a blessed place, great rewards.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Subhanallah.
This is some misconceptions are here also. Like this, the people are saying this. I need to ask you again. This one is this in completely the territory of Mecca or inside the Haram only?
Yeah, that's a common
question.
That's a good question.
Yes.
Common question.
Because let me tell you about the word, the term Al-Masjid Al-Haram.
Yeah.
Al-Masjid Al-Haram would be given to just only the masjid that contains the Kaaba. That's called Al-Masjid Al-Haram. But also Al-Masjid Al-Haram is really the whole territory of Mecca.
Yes.
And you know the boundaries. When you
Yes,
sit from like Ash-Shumaisi, as we call it, coming from Jeddah, or here you have it in the east side. We have another Shara'i, and that we have Masjid Aisha from the north, Masjid Tan'im, or you have down in the south of Kakiya and that area going to Yemen. So all these boundaries have been set by the Prophet ﷺ. And we know these are actually the boundaries of the whole territory of Mecca. And that's called Al-Masjid Al-Haram. So according to the scholars, although there is a difference among the scholars, whether it's only to this particular masjid which contains the Kaaba, or the whole territory, and the inshallah the most authentic and the true opinion is that it includes all of Mecca. So you don't have to go to Al-Masjid Al-Haram in order to get these 100,000 multiplications of your prayer. Now there is another question which is important. Does that include all other deeds besides Salah, or is it special to Salah?
And also,
what do you think?
Like giving donations, you mean, in fasting?
Yeah, like sadaqah, or you do fasting, or you do enjoining good and forbidding evil, like al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy al munkar, all the good things, al-dhikr, which is very, very important in these days. So what do you think? Abdullah, now you're a student of College of Sharia.
Islamic law.
I don't know, but Arfa assumes that the hadith mentioned prayer. So the multiplication would be just for prayer. Of course, Mecca is a great place, so all good deeds are multiplied, but not by 100,000. Unless there's a hadith that mentions all deeds are multiplied by 100,000.
Ahsant. Well, I think anyone having any opinion on this? Well, you know that, yes, as Abdullah said, the hadith mentioned the salah in particular, only the prayer. However, some scholars are saying this is only an example. The Prophet ﷺ gave an example which would include all other deeds. Some are saying because the hadith said the salah, it's only specific to salah. However, the bounty and the graciousness of Allah is so vast and so huge, it can encompass all of that. So we can say, inshallah, all other deeds are multiplied as well by the grace of Allah. This is according to the opinion of some scholars who are saying it may go beyond that. But nonetheless, there are many virtues actually to being here. And dhikrullah is very much encouraged. Especially, now we know that, for example, reciting the glorious Quran is the best of dhikr, right? Is the best of remembrance of Allah. What else can you find better than the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the glorious Quran?
The multiplication, what about as far as sins or mistakes?
If you do evil, is that also...
Sins. Well, sins are so grave and bad to be done here. They're not, however, multiplied.
Okay.
As people would think that if the rewards are multiplied, then the sins are multiplied as well. However, they're so bad, and doing a sin here is unlike doing sin anywhere else. That's why Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu chose not to live in Mecca. He went to Taif. You know, there's the biggest masjid in Taif, in the center of Taif, is called Masjid Abdullah ibn Abbas, Masjid ibn Abbas. That's the big masjid there, because he chose to live in Taif because he said, well, I'm afraid that if I'm here, I might commit some sin. Look, this is the companion, Abdullah ibn Abbas, who was the tarjuman of the Quran, who was the one who interpreted the Quran. He explained the Quran. He was given this, mashallah, gift of knowing and understanding the meaning of the glorious Quran. And he was one of the great companions. All the companions are great, but he was among the greatest. And he said, I'm afraid. That's why he chose to go out. So yes, because of the sacredness of Mecca, you just think that I'm not supposed to even think of sin or think of sinning. Astaghfirullah. And what about someone who intends to do harm or mischief?
Yes.
That's even more terrible. That's even worse, as we can understand. So according to the scholar, as-sayyi'atu ta'zum wal-hasanatu tuda'af. That's just the wording in Arabic for this. So rewards are multiplied, and sins are so bad and grave.
One thing I've read, maybe you can just confirm it, is the sins aren't multiplied, but they're magnified. Is that
Yeah,
What is the difference?
I think
One that's made bigger.
one is like, for example, if you killed someone outside of Mecca, it's a sin like killing someone.
Yeah.
But killing here is like killing in a bigger way. Instead of saying like 100 people, it's a bigger killing.
big person?
Oh,
One
well,
big
May
man.
Allah forbid. May Allah forbid.
But it's not multiplied. Per se.
It's
like,
not
like
multiplied.
heavier.
It's
But
you
it's
mean.
so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's unlike doing it anywhere else. In the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, committing a sin here is really so terrible. It's like, look, if you do something wrong before anyone that you don't know is wrong, but it's unlike when you're doing it before, for example, your father or the king or someone with a very high status. I mean, أهلا وسهلا. Assalamu rahmatullah.
Have a seat here. Have a seat here.
This is Dr. Umar Al-Juhani. Please. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome. So, doing it, we're talking about, Dr. Umar, we're talking about the doing the sinning here in Mecca as opposed to doing good deeds. And we talked about the multiplication of doing good deeds, and we talked about the salah and all that. But then one of the brothers asked about, are the sins multiplied here? And of course the saying of the scholars in this respect is that they're not multiplied, but they're so grave in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's unlike doing it anywhere else. And I was giving the example of when you do a sin before someone you respect so much. It's unlike doing it before anyone else, or just with before no one. You're doing it in your own secrecy. It's different. That's why this place has this sacredness and great status, which a Muslim is having in mind. And I remember the first time when I was a child, I was in secondary school, when I came the first time to Mecca. And because I'm thinking of my own sins and all that, and I said, Subhanallah, I'm coming to the house of Allah, and I'm afraid that Allah might, punish me. Wallahi, when I approached the house and I said, Astaghfirullah, may Allah, Ya Allah, protect me, Ya Allah, keep me safe. Because I was having that feeling, I'm the very weak slave of Allah, and I'm coming before Allah, and Allah is giving me this honor to visit His house, to visit the Kaaba, and yet with all my sins on my back. Subhanallah. It's just like when you think about it, because people come to with their own sins on their backs, yet they are forgiven and revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like when the Prophet ﷺ gave the example of the black stone. And the black stone was dropped from Jannah, as we know, and it was white, just like milk. It was very white. But then as people started to come with their own sins, it changed because of the sins. It changed the color. So we're saying because of us, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is oft forgiving. We should expect and we should have good thinking of Allah, not ill thinking. No. We should have all this good thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that yet no matter what you do, Allah is going to forgive you.
And also that Allah's mercy and His forgiveness is greater than His wrath.
Of course.
It's greater. So it gives you so much hope. It doesn't matter what level of a sinner you are, to come here and to repent and to know you can start off afresh is a beautiful hope,
Just like the hadith, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hadith divided His mercy into 100 parts. He kept 99 and gave people and create the creation just one part of that, which is 1 out of 100. And that's what we used to do out of this one piece, one part of mercy. We're having that mercy among us, where we are so affectionate, so passionate towards each other, where even animals are so merciful to their own kind, to their own children, and so on. This is because of that part. What about 99? So, rahmati wasi'at kulla shay, wa rahmati wasi'at kulla shay. And Allah's mercy has has
encompassed,
come over,
yes,
everything else.
Alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah.
And these 99 parts are preserved for the believers on the Day of Judgment.
Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah.
This is
Even an added blessing.
And it's comforting to know this. Now that we know that, alhamdulillah, we share this mercy amongst ourselves. The mother has mercy towards her offsprings, the father, as you mentioned, the animals, and so on and so forth. If this is what we witness in this life, in this dunya, what is preserved for the believer on the Day of Judgment? 99 parts that are only specific and given to the believer on the Day of Judgment. So this is really reassuring and very comforting for the believer.
Exactly.
If you permit me, Dr. Ahmed, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira wa ba'd. I'd like to begin by expressing my pleasure of being with our teacher, Ahmed Saifuddin, Dr. Ahmed Saifuddin, and the rest of the brothers from the different parts of the world, united by Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah Azza wa Jal, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the final messenger to mankind. In these times, as a continuation of the topic that you were discussing, Allah Azza wa Jal, from His mercy, has pinpointed the honor of places and honor of times. And within the honor of places and times, we find that the rewards are magnified, they're multiplied. Yet the opposite is also there. And I was listening before I came to the set, I was listening to some of the brothers who were speaking about this, and it seems to me that we understand the concept that the merits are magnified, they're multiplied. But there's this negligence or this lack of understanding that in these times, in these places, that when one doesn't utilize this time to come closer to Allah, then this is a form of proclamation by the individual that he's really neglecting the mercy of Allah, that he's denying any type of desire to come closer to Allah, which makes the person eligible for that magnitude of the demerit. If the demerit is performed in some other place, in some other time, it's a demerit which is given to that extent. But when it's done in the time or the place, this is an announcement by the individual that I'm doing this even in the most precious times in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal. It's an announcement that he's neglecting the opportunity to come closer to Allah. And this is dangerous. This is very dangerous.
What we call al-hirman.
Deprivation.
Deprivation, yeah.
If you're deprived of this opportunity,
and you wasted a wasted opportunity.
And very accessible, very easy. And you should be thankful that Allah kept you alive until you are able to reach these days, and particularly if you're coming to Hajj in Mecca. What a blessing!
Yes. I mean, how many of us even planned this a year ago, even thought about it? And Allah brought us all together in one place for this mercy, for this great reward. I mean, how ignorant you could be, how foolish you could be to waste that great opportunity, like you said, Doctor.
And you can do the same thing while you're in your place. You don't have to be in Mecca, or you don't have to be in Hajj to have the blessing. Because we're talking about this
10 days.
10 days of the first 10 days of the Hijjah, which I think our brothers will address this topic later on. But I think we need to have that in mind. That as Ibn Hajar rahimahullah indicated, and he said that not everyone is able to reach Mecca every year. However, you will share with the pilgrims the same opportunity and the same blessings that they're getting, but even when you're sitting home. Because no good deed is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than these deeds. The deeds in these days, even if you're there. And of course, we talked about the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very precious.
And to take time away, to focus on these 10 days. There's only a few days of the year. Leave everything else aside. make time. Don't go out to socialize and do those things. Take time to, to worship Allah, to remember Allah, to help one another, to learn, to read, to do those righteous deeds in these 10 days.
And even if you're working, I think if you can take them off, these days off from
Blessed,
your work,
yeah.
that would be the best.
Yes, yes.
Just like to devote yourself for this great work.
Or rather, you can schedule your working leave to meet these days within the month so that you can have an ample time to make zikr for Allah.
That's true.
Yes. Yes, you can schedule your leaves,
I think
your holidays.
Yes, this is a good suggestion. People who can do this, of course, alhamdulillah, one of the virtues of living in Saudi, alhamdulillah, is that these times are official breaks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's really designated within the opportunity of when these seasons arrive, the break is given. And this gives a person no excuse to dismiss it.
Exactly right. extra facilitating the opportunity to get good deeds.
Yes. Whether in Ramadan or in Hajj or in even times of Eid, the official break time is also always designated within these times, giving that opportunity to come closer to Allah. And when this is done on an individual and a collective level, the community really enjoys the blessings of Allah. This is where the favors of Allah are bestowed upon the community, and the opportunity to really rise as a group on a larger scale. And this should be the view of the Ummah, really, not only one part of the Muslim world, but the entire Muslim world. And may Allah Azza wa Jal guide us to what pleases Him. Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Regarding the peace and security, which you referred to those people who are coming here and sitting here.
Yes.
Wonderful job is being done by the government and the authorities. No denying of that. There is another perspective to that. For instance, we are here. This is a blessed place. People are coming here. And who Allah choose, they get the inner peace and security. Then this is something which will last with them forever. No matter which part of the world they go to, hail from. No matter what turmoil they are in. This blessed place and the blessings of Allah, if we get that particular thing creeping into us, inner peace and security from this blessed place, then this is something which is...
MashaAllah. That's a wonderful perspective, to think not only the outer peace, but rather the inner peace, the peace within. And I think that's something that you come out of Hajj with this satisfaction. In fact, you'll be so happy that, when Allah said, when the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man hajja falam yarfuth walam yafsuq, raja'a ka yawmi waladathu ummu." Whoever makes Hajj and then, without committing any wrongdoing or having sexual intimacy with one's wife or husband during that time, then that person will come out of the Hajj as a newly born. As a newborn, just clean.
Free from sin.
It's just that to have that feeling that inshallah, may Allah give all the pilgrims that reward.
Ameen.
And may He subhanahu wa ta'ala let them come out of Hajj as clean as newborns, because it's so great. It gives you that satisfaction. And you're coming to the hospitality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Hujjaju wafdullah. They are the
guests,
the delegation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming to His place, and He is the one to
Razak.
Of course, to provide, to be generous to them,
to host,
because He is the most generous subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously, if you come to Him, obviously He will forgive you. On the day of Arafah, as you know, when Allah at the end of the day will descend subhanahu wa ta'ala to the first heaven and will address the angels and will say, ماذا أراد هؤلاء? What have these people come for? أشهدكم أني قد غفرت له. I make you my own witnesses that I have forgiven them. Allah is saying this. I mean, if you aspire to being among that community and to be among the forgiven, so have that good thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should work for that. Because that's something that's just not taken for granted, but rather it will be earned by your own devotion, seeking that, working towards that, and the reward will come inshallah by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to our satisfaction inshallah.
One thing more.
Go ahead.
Yes.
One thing more. When I came to Saudi Arabia around 4 years ago, I was talking to my CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the company. He's from Ireland. In those days, Hajj season was also there. So when we started talking, he's a non-Muslim guy. When we started talking to him about the magnitude of this particular pilgrimages there, then he cited an example of football game stadium, that I have only seen around 40,000 people in a stadium, and I can't imagine how the authorities do take care of these 40,000 people without any mess or chaos. So when we cited the example of Hajj, around 2.5 or 3 million people, then he was totally mesmerized about the whole thing. That 3 million people at one place and being managed with the will of Allah in an immaculate way is something which could be a very, very important point to convey the message to Allah, to non-Muslims about the kibriyai of Allah, about the greatness of Allah.
Yes.
So Hajj, if portrayed properly and conveyed to non-Muslims in an easily comprehensible way, could do wonders.
True, mashallah. You always, mashallah, have these fresh points, mashallah. Deep insights, mashallah, from time to time.
This is manifested in all worships in Islam, even in Salah. But it's gathered and combined and really apparent when it appears in Hajj. However, in Salah, the unity of rowing and praying in rows, immediately as if these people have been trained by some military, mashallah, officer. Right? They're ready to get in rows and pray behind the leader.
Organized.
And all this is done because they're united in belief, united in worship. And the unity is in attire, the dress. The unity is in the purpose, the intention. The unity is in the designated points and places they go to. The unity, it continues. It's an unlimited form of unity. And one of the objectives and themes of Hajj is to unite the believers. Unfortunately, in a time we find that Muslims have been divided, and divided based on ignorance or based on false beliefs, or many innovations that have shown in times and places. We find that Hajj serves this purpose. And alhamdulillah, even though the attempt really is there to divide the Muslims in these many ways, Hajj really brings us to this understanding. And the point before that you mentioned, Akhi, and I think this is important if we touch upon it, one of the clearest and quickest way to achieve this unity and to come closer to Allah, which is a clear objective of Hajj, is to purify one's heart. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions Ibrahim alayhi salam, the beacon of Hajj, the one who called to Hajj, hence the title of this program, the call of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He tells us, وَجَاءَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, and he came to Allah with a pure heart. In this we find even in Surah Al-Hajj, Allah tells us about the actions of the heart. The main objective of coming closer to Allah in Hajj is وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. And the Prophet tells us that taqwa is in the heart. And the numerous concepts of Tawheed, the concept of the oneness of Allah, coming to Allah Azza wa Jal in response to the call of Ibrahim by saying لَبَّيْكَ اللَّهُمَّ لَبَّيْكَ, is a pronunciation of the oneness of Allah that's in the heart, stemming from the heart. Ulama of Aqeedah in the past and in present times have told us that the seed of Iman must be the initiative, which means the beginning of Iman. We know that Islam is the first entrance into the deen, and then the higher rank is Iman, belief, or the system of belief of the heart, and then Ihsan, the perfection of both Islam and Iman. However, even though Islam comes before as a level, but Iman as a seed must be in the heart prior to Islam. Because you won't say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, if the seed of Iman has not been sowed in the heart. So these concepts really are absent many a times in many of our actions. In Salah, the physical movement is there. In Sawm, the hunger is there. In Zakat, the almsgiving is there. But we have a problem in internalizing these concepts by heart and really rising in the sight of Allah. As one of the, and I'll close with this, as one of the scholars have cited, to praying the same exact prayer, the same exact time, but the difference of one prayer and the other is of the difference of the heavens and the earth. Why? Because that individual's heart is in that prayer. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says that when you enter into that state, you become of al-muqarrabun, those who are near to Allah. This is where all the barriers between you and Allah is elevated and taken away. Subhanallah.
Jazakallah khair. Since you mentioned the call of Abraham, we'd like to point that we do have a hashtag on Twitter. It's called the Call of Abraham. The Call of Abraham. You can contact Huda through this hashtag. You can ask questions. You can have your own input. We need your feedback. We need your feedback as viewers to what is taking place here and what you think of this program so far. Please.
There's a point that I feel is very important to mention now at this time. It is the meaning of worship, ibadah. A lot of people consider the worship is just praying and fasting. They don't consider that ibadah is a very wide thing. Doing any good is ibadah. If you could touch on this topic.
I'm sorry, I was busy coughing.
No problem. The meaning.
Sorry.
The meaning of ibadah. Meaning of ibadah. Worshipping. Yeah, worshipping. It's a wide thing. It's not just praying and fasting. People think last 10 days, the first 10 days of the Hajj, I pray, I fast. What more can I do? Just being a good person, helping other people, you get rewarded for that.
MashaAllah. If we're talking about ibadah, if I understand your question, it's coming from the term abada or abbada, which is abbad al-tariq. He made it easy
paving
and well paved, easy to walk on or to move on. And it's exactly like this. You actually need to work on yourself to make yourself so humble before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you are in the state of ibadah, you are in the state of slavehood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning you submit to His will, you are in the state of doing good deeds, whether they are outer ones or inner ones, and whether they are apparent or secret, as Al-Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah made this definition of al-ibadah. What is ibadah? And he said, al-ibadah hiya al-a'malu al-zahiratu wal-batina, جميع الأعمال الظاهرة, all of the good deeds, whether they are hidden or apparent, which please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that pleases Allah is a form of ibadah. However, we need to also qualify the statement of this pleasing. It's not just an open-ended. It has to be according to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam directed us to do. Because we need to take the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ in what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what is right and what is false, and so on and so forth. That's so significant. In this, that's why, for example, let me say that first thing that you do after you start your Hajj or Umrah, and you do the talbiyah and get into the state of ihram. And by the way, getting into the state of ihram is not just to wear the two garments, one on top and one on the bottom, but rather it's the state, the niyyah inside. That's a state of ihram once you have that intention. And then you, as a result, you put on these two pieces of clothes as a male. And then you go to Mecca. The first thing you do is that if you are able to reach the black stone and to touch it, and you call this istilam, and you say Bismillah Allahu Akbar by starting the tawaf. This is to show you that you go after the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's the first thing that you do in your ibadah is this is the sunnah of the Prophet. So you took after the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ. So it's important in the form of ibadah, since we are in this ibadah. Yes, we know that it's there's a very wide range of ibadahs. However, they are qualified by the fact that they need to be according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet ﷺ legislate. Otherwise, it would be just our own. I could feel very energetic on one day, and I say, well, today, mashallah, I'm very energetic. I can do dhuhr five rakahs. Right? And tomorrow I'm lazy. I can do them 3, right? Or 2. Please, I can do it according to my own wish. Well, it's not up to us. And that shows how important to really follow the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ and to show your dedication. And it's not up to you. You go even against your own thinking or your own desires, your own whims, and so on, in order to follow that track or path of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Hence the meaning of submission.
Yeah, and the submission, of course.
Also, Sheikh, if you can mention the topic that dua is a form of worship, of ibadah. Some people make dua, they don't know that they get rewarded for making dua.
For making?
Dua.
Dua.
Yeah. It's a form of ibadah. It's not just you make dua so that you get what you want. You do it because you want to worship Allah. You get rewarded for it.
Sheikh Omar can comment on this.
Can you repeat the question, Akhi, and I'm going to refer back
a lot of people don't know that dua, making supplication to Allah, is a form of worship, ibadah. They do dua when they need something. You get rewarded for dua. Dua mukh al-ibadah. The Prophet ﷺ said that dua is ibadah. If you touch on this point.
I'll just comment quickly and then refer it back to our teacher. Dua is amongst the greatest acts of worship, and within it is actually a measurement of closeness to Allah and one who is far from Allah Azza wa Jal. Dua is involved in all acts of worship. Salah, when we perform Sawm, it's prompted. When we're in Hajj, it's the essential part of Hajj, whether it's the remembrance of Allah, whether it's the asking of Allah, the continuous dhikr and dua that we perform. And this really brings us to an excellent point in ibadah, which the hadith that you mentioned is maybe a lesser hadith of being authenticated, but there's a hadith by the Prophet that says, the Prophet ﷺ says, al-du'a huwa al-ibadah. Dua is actually the act of worship. And yes, this is true, Akhi, that the negligence of many of us Muslims would limit the act of dua when we need something. And this isn't a problem. This should be the case, that one calls upon Allah when they're in need. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ even prompts the companions that, as they say, describing themselves, that we ask Allah of everything, even the slippers on our feet. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla of everything we need. So this is prompted, this is good. But to rise to a greater level, to come closer to Allah Azza wa Jalla, one should involve dua in every aspect of their life. And you find this really during the entire day of the Muslim. When we wake up, we perform the dhikr, and sometimes it's involved in dua, asking, or just involving the concept of remembering Allah Azza wa Jalla. When we begin our day, when we eat, Bismillah, in the name of Allah Azza wa Jalla. It continues with the Muslim after Salah, the remembrances that are mentioned and stated, and also the asking of Allah Azza wa Jal, as the Prophet Muhammad says, in specific times that dua is not returned back and is prompted more than other times. For example, during the day, between the adhan and the iqamah, when the adhan is performed, the call to prayer, and the call to the actual performing of the prayer, this is a time when dua is accepted. Dua is also accepted prior to breaking one's fast. Dua is accepted at the final third of the night. And what's interesting is, subhanAllah, you find that dhikr in the form of remembering Allah Azza wa Jal is always attached, in the sense that beginning by remembering Allah Azza wa Jal, and then the salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn al-Qayyim says the proper way to ask Allah Azza wa Jal is to come by remembering and praising Allah through His beautiful names, most beautiful names, and His perfect attributes, and then descending to the salutations of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then ask Allah Azza wa Jal what you desire, what you want, whether it's of the goods of this life or the goods of the next life. And to perfect it is to seal it with the remembrance of Allah and the salutations of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Ibn al-Qayyim takes it to a higher level by saying, yes, he says that if you want to even add more perfection to it, mention the salutations of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in the middle of the dua when asking Allah Azza wa Jal. And I'll seal with this, inshallah, and I'm sure Dr. Ahmed has more to say about it. But the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was asked by one of the companions, he said, "O Messenger of Allah, should I make the salutations upon you 1/3 of my remembrance, 1/3 of my dua?" He said, yes. And then he said, half. And then he said, yes. And then he said, my entire remembrance and dhikr or dua upon salutating you, O Messenger of Allah. He said, then tukfa hammak. Then you will be protected of what is concerning you. In other words, everything you need, everything you desire, Allah will give you, even though you've been busy reciting the salutations of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala abdika wa nabiyyika Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Does that state what is in your mind regarding ibadah and dua and all that?
Yes, yes.
Give us your own input.
No, it is. I would like to mention that.
If you can speak up a little bit, we cannot hear you here.
Okay, I would like to mention that ibadah is a very broad aspect in Islam.
Broad aspect?
Broad aspect. For example, being good to people is ibadah.
Ahsant.
Smiling is ibadah. Not harming people is a form of ibadah. Being good to your relatives is a form of ibadah. So in these 10 days, especially in Hajj,
MashaAllah,
everyone should try to do these actions, for they are a form of ibadah. Ibadah is not only just praying and fasting. These are sometimes more rewarding than those actions.
Exactly. Jazakallah khairan. I mean, mashallah, you stated that very beautifully. Yes? Yes.
Sometimes I find people distinguishing between some ways, like dua and askar. Are they different ways? Are they different?
Are they different? Dua is supplication. When you raise your hands asking Allah, invoking Allah for something, that's dua. Dhikr is to remember Allah, is to mention His name, is to read the glorious Quran, is to do when you wake up in the morning. Of course, one of the things that a Muslim is supposed to do, and is very much encouraged, is to have this dhikr, which have been collected by some scholars, and they call them adhkar. the remembrances of the morning and the remembrances of the evening. So you mention Allah by certain things, and by the way, included in that dhikr are some dua in there. Actually, you need to protect yourself. You need to attach yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and always be close to Him by remembering Him, not only by your heart, but rather even with your tongue. So you say La ilaha illallah. For example, if you want to be close to Allah, if you want to always have Allah present in your mind, is to say La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamdu wa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Probably they need you for something, but don't eat anything before us, okay? It's okay. Yes, say at least. No, it's okay.
And see,
but yes.
In fact, this is a wonderful school that we are attending. We are really attending school, and some of the things we are hearing here is adding more knowledge and faith to our but the little that we have nonsense, we embrace Islam. For instance, this wonderful story you told us about the black stone.
Yes.
That it used to be white.
And it changed the color because of the sins
of
the people.
Yeah, I just want to know that it was white when it was placed at the corner of the Kaaba, because I've heard a story of when the Kaaba was rebuilt at a point in time, and there was an argument as to which tribe should
have the honor
to fix it back.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to know what was the condition of the black stone at that time when the people were trying to struggle for the honor of fixing it back. Was it still at that time white or?
Well, according to my own knowledge, is that the black stone was there from the beginning.
Okay.
It was part of the Kaaba.
Okay.
But then when they rebuilt the Kaaba, and then of course they have to take everything down and put it back. Now came the time when they want to fix it there to the walls, to its own place. Of course, there was this discussion: who's going to have the honor, and which tribe? And they said maybe if we give it to this tribe, they will have the honor; the others will not have it. So they said, well, let's decide. The first one to enter Al-Masjid Haram is going to do it. And it happened to be the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was given that honor. It's by Allah's decision, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah made it that way, and therefore it was taken by his own hands. And they said he was mashallah, he gave him a good, nice solution. He said, put the black stone in a piece of cloth and a sheet, and everyone will raise it to the level, and I'm going to take it and put it to the wall, to its own place. So everyone will have the honor of carrying that. Look at the wisdom of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And then he fixed it to the wall, and everything was mashallah. There's a call from Diri, mashallah, saying it's time to eat. So would you like to eat or just keep discussing?
Combine both, eat and discuss.
Eat and discuss, exactly. That's a nice suggestion. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallah. Oh, when it's time to eat, there's no friend. Subhanallah. In fact, friendship is even better when you are eating. I mean, the companionship is more great and enjoyable when you are eating. Let's just at least end this session by saying Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Please.
Yeah.
We need to hear you more, Akhi Mikael.
You want to hear me more? Okay. Yeah.